Hello everyone, today's video is going to be showing you guys how to load your Fortnite build into FModel. Alright, so the first thing you need to do is go up here to the top left corner where it says directory and press selector, okay? Now you're going to notice here that you're going to get detected game, UE versions, and directory. So this directory here is where you're going to point FModel to your actual pack folder from your Fortnite build. So as you can see, I already had one loaded, but I'm going to click the three dots here, and it's going to open up my file browser, okay? Now, I have mine saved in downloads, so if you go to the folder where you saved your Fortnite build when you downloaded it off Easy Installer, you click there. Then you go to Fortnite game, you go to content, you go to packs. Now this packs folder is what you're going to need to select. So go to this packs folder, select, and now you can see here that it automatically filled in this detected game as packs, and then the UE version. Now, the UE version is important if you want to be able to properly export assets. So if you downloaded a build of Fortnite that is before version 14.60, then you don't need to follow this step. However, if you actually exported a version of Fortnite that is 14.60 or later, so chapter 2 season 4, 5, 6, 7, if you exported those, you need to go to my website and you need to go to useful links and click on mappings, okay? Now, what this actually does is it pretty much allows FModel to read the proper mappings of data. So it basically allows you to properly export models and export files, especially models and stuff. Like you can't export like GLBs or meshes without having the proper mappings. So if you go to this, you can click on any of these here, and these are going to give you the mappings that you need. So you're usually just going to want to download the br.us map or just whatever main one is there. So once you download that for your corresponding or matching build, so if you have 14.60 or above, you're going to do this, otherwise ignore this. Okay, so download the br.us map, okay? And then back in FModel, now, you're going to actually open up settings. So first of all, you can just go ahead and cancel this first if you have a build that's greater than 14.60 or later than 14.60. Otherwise, you can skip ahead, okay? But you're going to need to go to General and then Mapping File Path. So, or sorry, local mapping file should be enabled, and then Mapping File Path. This is where you're going to put in the US map that you save. So you would open up your downloads and then click on the US map that you downloaded from this website, and then just click OK, and then everything should work fine, okay? So now back to this. So if you just have a Fortnite version or Fortnite build that is before version 14.60, then you can just do this. But regardless, the UE version needs to be correct. So, anyways, the UE version is important. The UE version has to match whatever UE version the actual Fortnite build was made on. So, for example, version 13.40 was made on UE425. So I would click UE425 and click OK. However, if you don't know what UE version your build is from, you may have to mess around with some of these UE versions. So if you figure UE425 is Chapter 2 Season 3, that means that UE424, 423 would probably be Chapter 2 Season 2, and then this one would probably be Chapter 2 Season 4 in this range for UE426, UE427. So that's how that works. Now, if you downloaded a Chapter 2 Season 7 build, you can just put UE4 latest. If you downloaded 14.60 and later, you could just put UE4 latest and it will still work because you have those mappings.us map. Anyways, for Chapter 2 Season 3, it is UE425, at least for 13.40, but you might have to mess around until it works properly. And the way you can tell if it's the right UE version is if it exports a mesh. If you get an error, that means it's the wrong UE version and you need to go back and mess around and try and find it. So now you are ready. Once you figured out what your UE version is, you can click OK. And now I've already done that. And when you click OK, you're going to notice that these things are still going to be red. On mine, they're not because I have the AES keys in. But this is the next part, is entering in your AES keys. So everybody has to do this, regardless of if you're 14.60 or above, doesn't matter. You're going to want to go to directory AES, and it's going to pull up this, AES manager. And you're going to get these AES keys. You need these because this is how you're going to decrypt your Fortnite pack files, because they are encrypted. So you need these keys to decrypt them. So if you go to my website, I have an AES keys for FModel link here. Okay. Now, if you go here, this is going to take you to the main keys. Now, if you scroll down a little bit, you're going to pretty much just find whatever key, whatever version your Fortnite build is, you're going to want to match that static key, okay? So for earlier Fortnite seasons, you can see that there are no, there's not a link that goes to a different page, but you can see here that for later Fortnite seasons, there is links because that means there are multiple different AES keys for different pack chunks. So, for example, I had Chapter 2 Season 3. So for this one, I would copy my main static key first for my build. So this is the main key right here. So I do Control C, and then I would go to FModel, and I'd open up my AES manager, and I would select this, and I would just paste it in here, okay? Now you're going to notice that you might have a bunch of different pack chunks. Now how do I get those keys? Well, you're going to want to click on this here under the version and open it in a new tab. And you can see that there's a main static key here again. But this time you're going to notice you also have pack chunk keys. So now these keys are 64 bytes. So what that means is it's only the top one that works. So you're only going to want to copy the top line for each of these pack chunks. So pack chunk 1000 is going to match up with pack chunk 1000, and I paste this in here, and there you go. And now you're going to want to rinse and repeat this process for each of the pack chunks. So I do the same thing for pack chunk 1001. I would copy this main top key, and I would paste this in for pack chunk 1001, just like so. Okay? And then once you've done that for all of your pack chunks, you can press OK, and that is going to have everything start loading. So once you go back to FModel, you're going to see that these little file icons are going to start turning green because they've been decrypted, okay? So now once you have your AES keys loaded up, there are a couple more things that we need to do before you can actually start browsing for models and everything, okay? So if you go to your settings really quickly, these are some ideal settings that you're going to want to have enabled. So obviously, if you have a version of Fortnite that is greater than 14.60, you already have the local mapping file enabled. But if you go to models really quickly, this is also very important. So the mesh format is important here. You're going to want to make sure that the mesh format is on GLTF binary. I don't believe it is on there by default. I believe it is a Piscal or PSK. But you're going to need to change this to GLTF. I highly recommend doing this because GLB is way more supported, and you're just going to have an easier time when exporting your models. So mesh format should be in binary GLTF. Now you can also change your model export directory if you don't want it to be in downloads fmodel/output/exports. You can change this to just a random downloads folder, or you could just put it directly in your downloads, and it'll just be a little bit more accessible than having to go through that folder hierarchy. And the last thing that you need to know about is the level of detail. So this I recommend leaving as first level only, which it is by default, I'm pretty sure. If you switch it to all levels, it's just going to give you more files that you don't need, and it's going to make it more confusing. So just do first level only, so you only get one file for your meshes, okay? And now your texture format, that is up to you. You can do PNG, JPEG, whatever you want. Material format, I do recommend exporting with all reference textures if you want to make it a little bit easier on yourself. If you have this enabled, all layers with all reference textures, what this means is that when you save the JSON data for material, it'll automatically export all of those textures that are associated with that material, so you don't have to do it manually. Okay. Now, key bindings, that's up to you. And that is pretty much everything that you need to know about that is absolutely necessary for FModel, okay? So now once you've adjusted your settings, you can click OK. And you may need to restart it. It might tell you that. But once you have, you can click Load Now. So finally, you can click Load Files. And now this is going to load up all of the packages in the game from your from your FN build, okay? So now we can pretty much search up anything that we want. So in this video, I'm not actually going to go over how to save these specific models or anything, how to save files. I was just going to, this video is just to show you guys how to set up FModel. I'm going to be posting another video very shortly that will show you guys how to actually save meshes, how to save umaps, how to save textures, and all of that stuff. It is very simple, but I will be posting separate videos for those because it's just easier that way. Alright? Anyways, guys, thank you for watching this video. I will catch you in some of the next videos when I show you guys how to export meshes, textures, umaps, etc., and all the processes that you need to do in order for those to get set up for UEFN importing.